Hi everyone, and welcome back to Fantastic Fermentations, your home for all things homebrew. I am Ricky, and today we're going to do something a little different. We're going to take a look at a new piece of equipment that I've added to the brewery, the Minibrew 6.5 gallon Conical Fermenter. Wow, that's a long name. Try saying that 3 times fast. But no, we're going to take a look and we're going to see if this fermenter is worth the money or it's worth adding to your brewery. So stay tuned. So from time to time, I will go on the internet and I'll search and look for just what new brewing equipment has come out in the past couple of months or in the past year. Maybe I missed something, and I just kind of look to see if there's anything that I would want to add to my brewery. There's two things that really kind of make a product fall into line of whether I think about adding it to the brewery or not. Number one is, does it make my beer taste better? So there's a lot of things that you see that come out and you're like, okay, is this going to make my beer taste better? If yes, then maybe it's something I consider adding depending on the price. If it's not going to make my beer taste better, then the other thing that I think about, is it going to make my brew day easier? And then I compare that to, okay, what's the price? Is it going to be $1,000 easier, or is that worth it? So that's what I always look to when I'm adding new products, and that's kind of what I was thinking when I found this. So when I found it, I was like, wow, I've never seen this company, never seen this fermenter before, but it turns out they've been producing fermenters since 1997, and this fermenter is actually the 8th generation of its style. So they have done a lot of work, a lot of R&D in this, and they've worked out a ton of the kinks. So with those two things in mind, is it gonna make my beer taste better? Yes, or hopefully so. We'll talk about that in a little bit. And is it gonna make my brew day easier? Which I think it can make my brew day easier. So we're gonna kind of dive into the product, how it's built, and what are some of the benefits from it, because I think we can really get a feel for it through that. Okay, first things first, let's talk about the stand. So the stand is made out of aluminum, so it's really lightweight, but it's still durable and strong. And it comes in, what is this, 4, 5, 6, so 10 different pieces. So you have the 4 legs, these 2 stabilizer rings, and then you have these 4 wedges that are bolted in here that hold the fermenter in place. So the fermenter is literally kind of floating and resting on those wedges, but it's really sturdy. The only thing I really needed to put this together was a 10 millimeter socket and a 10 millimeter wrench for tightening down, and then some of these required flat head, not flat, but Phillips head screws. So I need a Phillips head screwdriver and a 10 millimeter wrench and a 10 millimeter socket. And I put this together in no time. So really easy to assemble. It came packaged really well. I really like the stand. It makes it easy. It's not too big or too bulky. It keeps the form factor kind of narrow. So I'm going to take some measurements a little later once we get to the end and talk about that. But it looks like I can fit 2 of these side by side in my chest, in my upright freezer fermentation chamber. So that's a plus, because if I could only fit 1 of these, then it would be hard for me to say that the product's worth it, because I can only brew 1 beer at a time when I usually have multiple beers going. So that's a good thing, it's a plus. Now that we've got the stand build quality out of the way, we can kind of work our way from the top of the fermenter on down and just kind of talk about some of the features and some of the things that are on it. First of all, we have to talk about the material that it's made out of. It is made out of, what is it called? HDPE, high density polyethylene plastic. And if you can't tell from the shop, it is It is sturdy. It is very hard. I can't dent it. It is 5/16 of an inch thick. So really, really, really thick walls on this, really sturdy. You're not gonna have any bowing or flexing once you actually put liquid in here, but also you can think about how safe it is and how it's gonna hold up to cleaning. Just off working on the inside, it's really smooth on the inside. Of course, there are no ridges or anything, and it's hard to scratch this thing. Now, I wouldn't say that would mean, hey, use a brush to clean this thing out. They still recommend that you're careful and use soft cloths like terry cloths to clean this out. But it's a durable material. It's gonna last you a while. It's not gonna break on you, which is a plus. Now, moving to the top of the fermenter, it has a lid, and this lid, I'll take it off really quickly. It is a strong lid with a seal on it. It has this square on it where you can actually grip it and grab it so that you're not trying to open it on the edge. You can open it from the square. If it's really tight, you can even get a pair of channel lock pliers and put on there and open it if you need be. But it's also made out of that same, of course, durable plastic. The lid is threaded on the outside, and there's some threads on the inside up here as well so that you can get it seated properly. There's a seal that comes on the lid. Now, this is the seal that Jeremy and the guys sent me. This is an updated one. They're trying to source this seal to make it so that it's the one that goes out in all their products, but they're trying to get some stock on it. This is the one that was the old seal. It's kind of thin, a little bit more flimsy. This is a lot more hefty, and they talked about using this and pressure transferring beer into kegs and things of that nature. That this would be a little bit better than this under pressure. So I'm hoping by the time I release this that they found a supplier or they've got some stock on this so that they can include this. This is a very nice seal that you put on it. But the seal just slides around, and then when you tighten it down, it kind of seats itself in the top of the fermenter, which holds up really well. It's really good. So once you move away from the lid, they have a hole punch here for an airlock, and they give you this 3-piece bubbler also with the bung. It comes in the package, so you don't have to worry about figuring out what kind of size hole that is. It's already drilled, and it comes with all the materials that you need. Now, there are other things that you can do. You can add some things for yourself. I know one thing that I like to use is a stainless steel blow-off tube. I think I've got it over here. Let me grab it. I use a stainless steel blow-off, and that will actually fit in here as well. So instead of having something that maybe I'm concerned about height or where the airlock is, I can put my blow-off or a stainless steel blow-off here, run a tube down to a glass container of some sorts, and I can have my airlock down here as opposed to up here if I have a clearance issue. So there's a couple of different ways you can do it. That hole is also large enough for an easy seal. So if you've got an easy seal, a weldless kit, you can just take that, also slip it into that hole, and you can add maybe like a stainless steel right angle, hook some tubes up to come down to a bubbler, however you want to do it. So there's a lot of different ways you can work with this airlock. Just kind of what's your preference. And I like the fact that it's kind of a figure it out for yourself. One thing that I'm excited to try on this is by putting the weldless, the easy seal up in here, I can then go inside and attach a CIP ball. If I attach the CIP ball, then potentially after I'm done with the fermentation, I can put cleaner in here, hook up my pump, and then instead of having to get in there, scrub, and do things, I can just let it clean in place for half hour, come out here, dump it, rinse it, and then it's ready to go for the next run. So great options the way they leave it open for you. Now, once you start to come down the fermenter and you get to the cone, this is where this fermenter really earns its keep. The cone on this is a true 60-degree cone. So with a 60-degree cone, there's a lot of benefits that you're supposed to get from that. Number one, it's supposed to promote flocculation. Now, for those of you who don't know that fancy word or what flocculation means, flocculation just is an easy way to say how easy the yeast will come out of solution. So after your fermentation is done, the yeast will then settle out at the bottom, and for whatever reason, the 60-degree cone will promote yeast to drop out and fall to the bottom, making your beer clearer, giving you a lot better fermentation. Another benefit of that 60-degree cone is it's supposed to decrease off flavors or decrease those harsh esters from being produced. So I don't fully know how that works, but I would imagine that if the yeast are running more efficiently and they're falling out once they're depleted, then that is going to reduce some off flavors as well. But they're saying that a true 60-degree cone is going to give you that benefit. That's also something that I'm worried about with other conical fermenters, especially ones with wider cones, that once you start to dump, then does the beer start to channel and then go past and through the yeast cake and then not get all the yeast out when you do your first drop, and then maybe you have to do one drop, give it a little tap, do another 2 drops. I've always wondered that with the wider bottom or the wider angle fermenters, and then I've actually had some experience with some that are actually steeper than that 60-degree, and I've seen those get super compact to the point where when you open the valve, the yeast cake doesn't even come out, and that totally kills the benefit of even having the fermenter at all. So I'm interested to really see how that 60 degrees plays a part in the flavor of my beer. Now on the front of this, you have a 1/2-inch ball lock valve, and this is going to act as a tasting port, so you can do sample, or it's going to act as, depending if you don't drop the yeast out and just want to go ahead and fill a keg or something off of this, you can do it here and not worry about pulling that trub or the yeast cake. So a couple of different ways you can use that, just kind of however it fits for you. They do come with an easy seal. The cool thing about the easy seal, number one, you do have to reach your hand down in there, so you got to have a long arm to get down here to put these on. But the easy seal, the nut that's here, is an opposite. So instead of left making it loose and right making it tight, you turn to the left to make it tight. And when you put in the nipple here and you turn the nipple to the right, it actually helps it to lock down and lock in place. So that's one cool feature about the easy seal bulkheads, is that they kind of self-tighten. They do give you this plastic barb that goes in the front if you wanted to use that. I'm probably going to switch it out and use probably a cam and groove, because that's what all of my hoses and brewery stuff uses, a cam and groove. So you do have the ability to switch out and put whatever you want up there, but in case someone doesn't have that or is not used to using pumps and things of that nature, then you can have that nipple there too, or this barb here, so that you're being more precise with your sampling, because without it, this stuff just is going to go everywhere. So it's a good thing that they include that. Now moving down to the bottom valve. The bottom valve is a 3/4 inch ball valve, It also has an easy seal. This one was a little tougher to get in. The only thing that I needed to tighten both of these down, I used a pair of channel locks and an adjustable wrench, and I was able to manipulate them and get them down and tight to where they were sealed. The cool thing about this one is they don't give you a um, hose barb or any kind of fittings for this bottom one, and that kind of leaves it up to you. I haven't gone to the homebrew shop to pick out any fittings for this bottom valve yet. I'm planning to use tri-clamp fittings, and I'm going to put a 3/4 inch NPT to a 1.5 inch tri-clamp connector here, and then on the other end going to the bottom I'll have a 1.5 tri-clamp to probably a 3/4 or to a 1 inch hose line or hose barb, and I'll put that on. The easy reason why I want to have an actual piece of tubing on this dump valve is because when the yeast cake is coming out, it's gonna come out pretty slow, and what happens is that it moves slow. Once that yeast cake passes, then the pressure from all the work or all the beer that's gonna be up here is gonna be super heavy. So as soon as that pops out, it's gonna shoot like crazy, and I wouldn't want to lose a bunch of beer. So I'll have the barb here, a clear piece of vinyl tubing, so that I can see the yeast cake dropping out, and I can see once the yeast cake has cleared the dump valve. Once the yeast cake is cleared the dump valve and I can see beer there, then I can shut it off, put my, and undo it and collect everything so that I don't lose a ton of my precious beer just because I don't have a fitting on the dump valve. And I do understand why they don't give you one, because everybody uses a bunch of different hookups and a bunch of different applications. So for me, I think I'll use a tri-clamp. I do have a bunch of tri-clamp stuff with my rim system that I use from time to time, so it makes it seamless for me. But if you want to use something else, hey, all you got to do is get the right thread size and you're good to go. What is the verdict? The verdict is I really like this thing and I'm really excited about it. I can see how it is going to benefit my brewery. I can see how it's going to make my beer taste better, hopefully. From working in the brewing industry and actually seeing their product, and their products are using these 60-degree cones, I can see the benefit there and why you would want to have it in a home application. I'm just excited to see if it's actually going to really make my beer taste better than what I've been using here. So yeah, it's going to save me time. It's going to be easy to clean. This 4-inch hole at the top, I can fit my arm all the way in there and clean anything off that's kind of stuck on. And I'm hoping that the CIP is going to work well too. So all in all, the product here, as you see it, costs $225 plus shipping, which is a fraction of the cost for a true conical with actual stainless steel valves. You don't get the stainless steel here, but I don't think it matters. I've been using plastic since I started brewing about 8 or 9 years ago, and I've been fine. And I've never scratched a fermenter. I've always been careful with my stuff. So this is way more durable than anything I've ever used. So I think it's going to be fine. So I'm excited to use it. I thank Jeremy and the guys at Minibrew for sending this over for me to test out. This video, like I said, is going to be more so about the product itself, how the build quality is, and what I think about the makeup. The next couple of videos I do are going to be me actually using it in brew days, me actually fermenting in it, dumping the yeast, and all that stuff. So this is the original, and then you're going to see all the behind the scenes nuts and bolts of its function in the coming weeks. So keep an eye out on my next videos. If you found this helpful, if you found this useful, then give us a thumbs up, like the video, and then subscribe to the channel, because you don't want to miss everything that we're gonna do with this guy to test it out. And maybe there's some other content up here that you might enjoy. So once again, thanks to Jeremy and the guys at Minibrew for sending this out to me, and keep your eyes peeled for the next videos to see this joker in action. I may even have some of my pro brewer buddies come over and take a look at it, just to see kind of what their take is on it. But hey, thanks for hanging with me and checking this out, and until next time, keep mashing.